Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you these 3 cards that I've only used one panel with as well. So I am going to be using the watercolor refills to create this beautiful background and then create these 3 cards with it. So to start with, I am going to be using a piece of watercolor cardstock. Now this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and all I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be heat embossing on this, is I'm going to add a little bit of anti-static powder. The images that I am going to be using are from the Ornate Foliage stamp set, and I'm just going to be using the outline ones. I'm just going to pop them into place where I want them to be stamped, and I'm going to be using some embossing ink to ink these up. Now I do make sure that I ink these up really well and stamp them down really well, because you can't necessarily see the embossing ink when you do stamp it because it's clear, but it is going to mean that we can adhere a little bit of embossing powder onto them. It will stick to the little ink that we just popped down, so we can then heat emboss it. I am using the beautiful rose gold embossing powder from Altenew. Once I have heat embossed the first set, I'm then going to use the same images as before and then place them into position where I want them to be again. Now I am creating a whole background with these, so you may need to stamp these a couple of times just around the panel to create a whole background with these beautiful embossed images on there. So as you can see, I am using the embossing powder again, and then I'm going to heat emboss this again with the beautiful rose gold embossing powder. I then do this a further time so I can get the edges of the whole panel, and then my panel is then complete. So once it's all complete, I can then move on to little pieces that I've missed. So I did spot a couple that hadn't stamped properly, so all I've got is a embossing pen, and I'm just kind of doodling in the images where I think they should be, adding a little bit more embossing powder on top of these, and it will stick to that embossing pen ink, and then I will heat emboss this so I have a perfect background again. Once this is then done, I can then get on with my prepping for the watercolor. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add some clean clear water to the back and the front of my panel, and this is going to mean it's going to be able to stick to my little palette that I have going on, and then it's not going to move around. So I'm using the watercolor marker refills, and I'm just going to pick a couple not at random, but I wanted kind of dual colors for this. So I have emerald, I have the beautiful purple wine, and also the desert night. So as my panel is already wet because it's nice and stuck to my little palette that we have going on, all I need to do is just add a little bit of water to the colour that I want to use, and then just dab this in, and the water that's already on that panel will move this around and you will get a really beautiful blend. So to start with, for that purple, I'm using the purple wine colour, and I'm then going to add a little bit of that desert night just to deepen that colour at the base of these petals, and then I'm just going to keep going until these ones are done, and then I will change onto a different one. So I want all of this to have no white in it, so as you can see, I'm really watering down that purple wine colour to add that to the tips of the petals, so it's all beautiful and coloured in. Then I'm going to go on to another set of petals. Now I wanted this a deeper shade of violet, and what's great about these watercolor refills is that you can mix the colours together really easily. So to create the darker violet that we have going on here, I've just added some more of the desert night to the purple wine to create that beautiful colour. So you can really mix around these colours and really play with them to create various different shades of the colour that you are after. So I'm going to keep going with the petals until they're all done, and I'm then going to move on to the leaves. Now for the leaves, I have used the emerald, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of that desert night in as well. So it's going to give me a really beautiful dark tealy green colour. And then you may see that you have missed pieces, so you can then just pop those in as well. So I am going to pop on a little bit of music while I carry on colouring this in, and you can see that for the background I'm just going to be using the beautiful Lagoon colour here. once the whole background has been completed, I then noticed that I had missed a few more spots. So for these little tiny pieces, I've just used the Desert Night marker just to colour those ones in. Once it was left to dry, I then decided I wanted to create a few more cards with this panel and not just the one. So I did cut it in half. And for the first one, I'm just going to mat this onto a piece of gold foil cardstock. Now, I don't want to waste the inside of that because that beautiful panel will be covering most of it. So I'm just going to take the fancy Hello die and I'm going to cut that from the middle of this gold cardstock. You're not going to be able to know that this has been cut from the panel, so it's a great way to use up pieces that you're not necessarily going to see and kind of may think that it's going to be a little bit of a waste as well. So once I've cut that out, I'm then going to add some tape onto the back of my watercolored panel and then add this back into place onto that piece of gold foiled card. I'm then going to take the sentiment and I'm going to add this to a piece of vellum before I do add it to my card. This means it's going to be able to pop away from that little background that we do have going on there, and it's not going to get lost. I did feel that it was getting lost on the beautiful watercolor panel. That's why I decided to pop it onto some vellum. Now, as we're using vellum, you are going to want to attach this from behind because you don't want to see any of that adhesive through it. So once I've done that, I'm just going to adhere this onto one card base, and there is one card completed. So I'm then going to move on to the other. Now I'm going to use the other piece of the panel for this one, and I'm going to cut the fancy Hello die directly from this one. So I'm going to pop this into place where I want it to be. Add a little bit of washi tape or masking tape to it because you don't want this to move around. You want that in exactly the same place as it is. And then again, I'm going to run this through my mini blossom machine. I'm going to carefully remove that, and I'm just going to add some little piece of gold foil card behind that. So as you can see, I've turned that over, added a little bit of glue, and then added the gold mirror behind it. I have a little bit just poking off the edge, so I'm going to get rid of that just with my trusty scissors. I'm then going to add in the little landlock pieces from the die cut word back into place so you can then read the word properly. I do have a little trick to get out the little pieces in the exact right place. If you remove the die cut from the die, you can then stick the other pieces with a little bit of tape, pop it back into place, and then push these pieces down with a little pin, and that's going to mean that they're in perfect position every time. So once I've done that, I'm then going to add a little bit of glue to the whole back of this panel, add that onto another card base, and then we have the second card complete. Now, I didn't want to waste that pretty little die cut that we have from the watercolor panel, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue behind that, add that onto some mirror card. I wanted to then lift this up again with a little bit more colour, so I'm going to take some of the deep Iris Cardstock and I'm just going to add that another mat around that little mirror card that we have going on, and there is the third card. I really do love how these cards turned out. You could use the panel just for one card if you wanted to, but by cutting it in half and die cutting it, you are going to be able to stretch your beautiful watercolor background a lot. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you like the cards as well. Also, if you do create something that was inspired by this, it would be great if you could share it because we would love to see. If you don't want to miss out on any videos that we do upload to the channel, it would be great if you do subscribe, and then you won't miss out at all. If you do want to watch any more videos, there are a couple more here that you can watch at your own leisure. Again, thank you so much for watching everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.